What's your answer on this? Is he right to say, in a way, he's reiterating the sort of argument that's been used before, that if you're not careful about your rhetoric, you're going to endanger some people? Or is it worth still being very outspoken about these sensitive issues?
Well, look, I think this is exactly the type of narrative that has got the country into the mess it is on these Pakistani rape gangs in the first place. The fact that this itself, really tells a story about the national cover-up there's been for decades. But look, Wes Streeting himself has tweeted this morning, and he's used the word Pakistani rape gangs, that there has been a problem with it, with Pakistani rape gangs. And that's the first, I think. For far too long, this has been, labeled as Asian grooming gangs. It is not some Asian issue. It is not a British Indian issue. It is not a British Nepalese issue. It is not a British Bangladeshi issue. This is a problem that is specifically been there amongst a lot of the Pakistani communities up and down the country. But more than that, this is about public trust. This is about the public being able to, being able to see that they can have safe communities, that they can trust the police, that they have policing us, that they can trust the people that we elect to govern us, that they will do the right thing. The fact that we can have the truth, be able to trust, that we need. So this goes far beyond just this particular issue. This is about public trust. And I would argue...
Oh, all right, Aman, but does he have a point? Because in a sense, he's saying that, obviously, you can't walk down the street and see someone who is Pakistani and assume they are a sex offender. Can you? I mean, that would obviously that would be absolutely wrong.
Yeah.
So there needs to be some policing of language in some way, doesn't there?
No, I would argue that there needs to be a complete and utter a national inquiry that lays bare the truth. I think the British public are very much nuanced people. The British people are people that, are not suddenly overnight going to turn into vigilantes wanting to take vigilante justice on our streets. The British people can be trusted with the truth, and that's what the truth ultimately will help rebuild these connections between the different communities that make up the UK. But I would also say, if you were a young white girl walking down a street in Rotherham or in Rochdale, then you would be quite aware of your surroundings. You have a situation where in Rotherham, 1 in every 57 Pakistani men were prosecuted for child sexual offences. That's a significant number in a local community to be had. And that's what we need. We need the truth to be out. We need communities to be able to call these people out. Where are the Pakistani community leaders? I think Wes Streeting is trying to patronise the Pakistani community again this morning by speaking on their behalf. We need Pakistani community leaders to be talking on this.
Well, yeah.
I mean, time and again, this is pointed out by various commentators, that couldn't the Pakistani community itself be doing more to point these things out?
Well, that's the thing. The fact that when we hear that one of the ringleaders, I think in Rotherham, is now back out of jail, living within the local community, where is the outrage? Why are these people, certainly the ones who are Pakistani nationals, not being deported? I read recently that you've had a situation where some of these people renounced their Pakistani citizenship to claim a right to family life in the UK, to fight it out in the courts. And that is what our local communities are facing. Again, the truth is what will set us free. I would also argue that someone like Elon Musk, all he's done, he's ramped up the price there is to pay for governments, for the establishment to not tell us the truth. Now, a lot of people say, oh, yes, we've had this inquiry and we've had that inquiry. But going back even to the J inquiry, for example, the very limited scope of that to talk about the ethnic problem, the problems with some ethnicities, some communities, was very, very, very narrow. We had Sajid Javid. He instituted an inquiry, but he again faced a lot of issues from the Home Office and the establishment of narrowing the scope again. We're still not collecting full ethnic data on the rape gangs, even today.
Well, I mean, that's terrifying, frankly, because we do need to address all of these issues. Do you get a sense that perhaps something is happening here, and we are we are getting to a point where we need to talk about these things much more frankly, and perhaps that in itself leads to talk about integration, doesn't it? Rather than what seems to have happened over the last couple of decades, is this idea that people can come into the country and sort of not embrace Britishness and be encouraged and applauded for maintaining their own sort of community standards and ignoring the ones of the country they're now living in.
Well, indeed, Stephen. I mean, look, first of all, 76% of recent people polled wanted a public and national inquiry into this. But more than that, I would say I quite agree with you. A lot of these people who are coming into the country, who have come into the country, I've always argued, if you want to be in Britain, if you want to live in Britain, coming in from the outside, coming in as a foreigner, as an immigrant, come here as a national, not a resident. You know, let's treat this country as our own, that this is not simply a place where you earn money and send it back to the place you really call home. So this whole idea of celebrating, for example, you know, national days of the countries that you've come from in the UK, we've had the Pakistani flag raised in multiple council town halls across the north. How on earth does that work with integration? Either you are British first or you're not. And if you're not treating yourself as British first, then frankly, you have no reason to be here.
OK. Aman Bhogal, good to see you this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. I mean, they're hugely difficult. God, can you imagine having this conversation on any other channel? Wouldn't happen, would it?
No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't be acknowledged. That's the problem.
And it is difficult.
But we've got people on both sides, if you like, if there is our sides of this argument about how you speak about it, whether you're openly talking about it and using certain phrases and certain words and descriptions. On the one side, you've got Jess Phillips, who feels that she's been endangered by the sort of rhetoric that's being used. And then you've also got a lot of Pakistani people, the mainstream Pakistani community, saying they are now, Wes Streeting saying, they are now being endangered by the rhetoric. So what do you do about that? You can't, there's rhetoric on both sides, of all sides of the argument.
I sort of think you can't shield people from it, and the only way to do it is to stand up and be counted, because that then, I'm
and to call a spade and get on with just calling, using the right terms.
Yeah, well, yes. I just sort of think these Pakistani community leaders need to be, and I'm sure some are, and some have, and some will do, but you've got to stand up and make the point about what you actually think about all of this, because that's the only way other people in the country will differentiate between bad people within the Pakistani community, and rather than lumping everyone together, which you shouldn't do.
And as you said, there will be Pakistani leaders who want to say that, this isn't us, this isn't what we stand for. So why aren't they saying it very publicly? Are they not saying it? Are they scared? In their own way, are they scared of retaliation?
Possibly.
Because of the language that has to be used if you're going to have an honest conversation.
It's an interesting one.
It's an extraordinary one, isn't it?